Can you code a cocktail?
Damn.
I want more suggestions from people. This season, we're setting ourselves the challenges, but we want to hear what other people want us to do.
Exactly.
Make our own pizza topping. Create our own pizza. We can create anything. There's no such thing as too much.
There's too much yesing. Sometimes.
That's all we can do. That's all we know how to say. And we want more yes girls and boys to join us.
Exactly. And then I think it will be much harder if someone tells us what to do. You know?
So many ideas. That's the mixology. You have plenty more seasons to remember.
Yeah.
Hello, yes people. We're the Yes Girls. You're joining us for episode, drumroll please,
5. Oh, sorry.
Yes, it's okay. You stole my thunder, but it's fine. We're in this together. That is indeed right. It is episode 5 of the Yes Girls podcast in Nairobi, Kenya, on this mighty fine day. I must say, it's a beautiful day, Akumu.
Exactly. It's not raining, so thank God. So we, the Yes Girls, 2 Nairobi-based wanderlusters, are making it our mission to say yes to doing, being, and learning something different every 2 weeks. And we are documenting our journeys. So this podcast is a result of us saying yes to sometimes challenging, sometimes fun, sometimes entertaining, and sometimes downright outrageous experiences. You bet that. You can bet on it. So I'm heading 1.
You mean Yes Girl 1? Or are you trying to be that game again where you get to be Yes Girl 1 and I'm Yes Girl 2? You doing that again?
No. You can be heading 2, but I'm still heading 1 or paragraph 1.
What sort of weird code are you talking in?
Code.
Huh?
So today we are talking about coding. So that's why I'm talking in code.
Okay, that was a little bit too convoluted for me, but whatever. You can be heading 1 and I'm heading 2.
And together we are the Yes Girls.
Now let's tell people in normal English what to expect from today's episode.
Are you sure we can speak in code?
Please don't keep that up.
In this episode, we are back to learning something. If you remember correctly, so far in season 1, we have been vegan, we have learned Greek, and we've done mixology, right?
And we've been positive.
And we've been positive, exactly. So for episode 5, we are learning coding.
Yep, we are taking on a highly technical and highly prized skill that is becoming more and more prevalent in education and society as a whole, as the world becomes more digital every day.
And trust me, neither of us has had much experience with this. So we are really starting from scratch, I think. You can really tell.
Yep. Now let's explain a little bit more before we get stuck into talking about how much we learned in our time of saying yes to coding. The core skills you need to get by in the world have changed a lot in the past few decades. When my parents were in school, they were taught to do exhaustive mental maths and calligraphy. When I was in school, we were taught to be responsible citizens and figure out how to pay bills. Kids of today are being taught how to code. It's part of the toolkit of the 21st century successful human being. And in a world in which digital skills are prized almost as much as emotional or technical skills, coding really is right up there.
Yes, and there's even a new form of intelligent quota called DQ. And DQ actually means digital intelligence quota. And it encompasses how we interact in and with the digital world. So having at least a basic grasp of coding is an important part of such interactions, and more, mastering some skills of coding is becoming a must-have in many workplaces.
However, coding is more than just a jumble of random letters, numbers, and symbols, which is what we thought it was before, or at least I did. There are a whole host of different coding languages, so not all codes are equal. Starting from the simplest, we have HTML, which is just about presenting content on a page. Then as you move further up the skills ladder, you get JavaScript, C, C++, C++, C hashtag, C.
Oh, I see. You're getting a little obsessed with the C's, eh?
Yes, I like the letter C. It's my name.
Oh, true. There's also Python. I really like Python because why would someone name something a snake?
Pretty
Like
cool.
a snake's name. Then there is PHP, there is Ruby, and there's a lot more. The fact is there are hundreds of different programming languages out there, some of which have become extinct, so to speak, but still exist somewhere out there in the programming cosmos.
And all those websites, apps, and online tools I use are written in some sort of coding language or a mixture of several languages. But we can only see the front end. That's the result of all of that coding input and the different languages working together to provide a seamless experience.
And the process of coding or writing a computer code is far more complicated than most people, or at least us, might think. It involves intense designing, problem solving, and understanding of the user experience, which is a whole different beast in itself. And it also involves visualizing the end results that you want to achieve and plotting your way on how you'll get there.
Yeah, so there are certain modern tools now that allow you to build a website using a building block approach where you can just drag and drop in the features that you want. So this has allowed even people with no coding knowledge or experience to make beautiful websites for themselves and their businesses.
Yeah, that's exactly how I made my website. Go check it out. But we wanted to build our own website from scratch because we don't want to take the easy way out. We normally don't.
Yeah, that would be too, easy.
Exactly.
So we gave ourselves 3 weeks to learn the basics of HTML, that's the easier or easiest of the coding languages, and CSS, which is a way to make your HTML look pretty. And at the end of the 3 weeks, we would both have to build our own Yes Girls website.
And as always, we recorded our experiences to share our journey with you all. But we also want to hear from someone who knows a little bit about...
A lot.
Yeah, true. A lot. A lot more than we do on the subject.
Joseph Murgor is a software developer with MobiDev, a leading tech and design company based here in Nairobi. We'll hear from Joseph later when it comes to our ratings time.
But before we get stuck in all of this, Claire, how would you sum up your experience in 3 words? 3 weeks in 3 words.
Easy. Oh, wait.
Wait, this is not easy.
Exactly. Stop me in my tracks. What about you?
Mine is easy. It's cascading style shit. CHIT.
Are we condoning expletives on the podcast now?
Right now, yes. And shit is child's play.
No child of mine, no
Should
future child of mine will be playing with shit or with even the word shit, or they will get what for? I don't know.
They'll get some shit from you.
Yeah, but I won't call it that to them. Well, anyway, these children don't exist yet, but one day our children may be listening to this podcast. So, sorry, kids. Akumu, I think you should go first. I always see you as much more competent when it comes to both artsy stuff and digital stuff. So I'm intrigued to hear how you did.
No pressure, right?
No pressure.
So I'll start by giving a bit of background. So ever since my university days, I always knew I'd love working with tech. I always seemed to enjoy creating content during my ISEC days, and using interesting apps. Shout out to ISEC. And for coding specifically, I thought it would be a ticket to career differentiation. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you see most coders out there, they're not necessarily writers plus a bit of artsy people. Like most coders are left-brained and they don't really use the right brain inside. Like there are very few people who do that. So I wanted to be the kind of person who can code and write and as well, create content or be a bit of an artsy designer person. So I really wanted to be a unicorn from the onset. So the other reason for learning how to code was simple because AI is coming. AI is artificial intelligence, and I feel like I need a leg into that industry because there'll be money in it. And why not? But allow me to digress a little bit. So the day before we recorded this, I saw an email from Udemy advertising a course where you can learn about AI without having to learn how to code. And how happy was I? I mean, if I can just jump over the hoop of coding and get into the industry, that's a dream come true. It's kind of like having dreadlocks without having to grow them. It's perfect. But anyway, that would be my ideal world, to get into tech without having to code. But we have this challenge. So with this challenge, I brought back my coding dream. And to be fair, I got into it having done a bit of practice here and there with some coding languages. I mean, in high school, I did C. So I can't really remember what I did. And in university, in my university course, I did a bit of programming. So I had to tell Claire that I have a bit of experience, and she was a bit scared. She actually wanted to cancel the entire challenge.
Yes, not fair.
But for the Yes Girls challenges, we usually like to do something that we both haven't done before. And that's why I saw a loophole, because I've never created a website from scratch. So I have done a bit of coding here and there, but that doesn't mean I can actually remember a thing. So I was going in with pretty much the same greenness as Claire. A little bit darker in green, but same greenness. So here's a bit of me explaining how botched my memory is before the challenge began.
So I'm starting the Yes Girls coding challenge soon. We're doing HTML and CSS. I kind of have the basics in my head. What I remember is, the basics of opening and closing tags, some tags that are, that don't have to be closed, like they're open tags, something like that. And there were lots of, forward slashes, or was it backslashes? Yeah, one of those forward slashes and stuff. So, yeah, there's pretty much very little that I remember, like almost zero. So it would be more of a kind of a God, I can't find the word. Kind of a practice of, gauging my memory, because the little coding I did, I think 2 years back with the app S01 was kind of locked in a vault somewhere in my memory. So yeah, let's start.
Once I began practicing with the amazing app called S01, things sort of started coming back to me, I think. Or my memory was just playing with me. So I preferred using the app since it's user-friendly and it sort of makes the whole thing accessible. If I use the computer to practice, I'd probably get anxiety that I was doing something serious. And you know what I mean, So I wanted to use my phone to have less anxiety about the whole experience. And plus, having a memory of some coding rules doesn't mean that you can actually code a web page, right? So my biggest challenge with doing the final web page was application. Being able to remember a few codes from long ago doesn't really make a difference. So it was really challenging to shift what I thought I knew and what I had learned into actual practice. And things got much, much harder when I needed specific things on the web page that I can't remember having learned. So as they say, doing is the best learning. So something as simple as having to move images around, blur them, edit them, and using Google search to find coding snippets that I needed made me learn a lot more than I ever did on the app. Because when you're doing something and trying to solve a problem, that's when you learn a lot more. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed the problem solving bit of it all, especially when it meant that I'd get the exact look and feel I wanted for the web page. So if you want a bit of feel on how the web page looks like, it was a bit of green with a blurred background, and it had a button in the middle. So it was like a one-page website where you scroll down.
And we'll be sharing this on social media. So
exactly.
Take a look at our Instagram, our Facebook, Twitter to look up both websites.
Yeah. And I had a couple of challenges adding, of course, the images. So at the end, my web page only had the background that was blurred and no other pictures because I kind of couldn't find a way to put them in. And I also experienced a lot of confusion when it came to CSS, using CSS with HTML. So here's an audio clip of me talking about cascading style shit.
So I'm doing the final web page, final challenge, and I'm having a lot of issues with, switching to CSS from HTML and all that. So my code is a bit of a mess. I'll try and use an analogy. It's like, how will I say it? It's like you want to use the internet on your phone, and instead of just keeping the internet on at minute 2 because you need it until minute 8, you keep having the internet on, and then minute 4 off, and then you put it again on minute 6, and then again on minute 8. It's a bit crazy. So that's how my code looks like. So right now, I think I'd call cascading, CSS is called cascading style sheets. In my head right now, I want to call it cascading style sheet, like SHIT.
So in the end, I actually know that my code was an utter mess. Not well thought out in terms of structure or arrangements. And I kind of had last minute CSS placement. So CSS is cascading style sheets, SHEET, that's the correct wording. And it's used to add, beauty to the HTML. So you can add a bit of coding snippets of CSS in your code, but it should all be in one point, maybe at the start of the entire code. But for me, it was all everywhere. It was, at the start, another one at the middle, another one at the end, so it was just a bit crazy. But when it came to the final result, I was pretty happy, and I felt very accomplished. It was my first coded web page. So all in all, despite the confusion, and anyway, not many people look at the back end of the code, right? No matter how terrible it is or how confused it is, the end of the web page the final web page is what counts. And for me as a beginner, I was super happy. So I think I'd rate myself 6.5. Generously appropriate, and it's funny, right? I didn't say 6.7, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
weird.
almost too rounded for you.
It's too rounded.
It's not an awkward enough number. 6.37.
Yeah, this one I decided to go safe and boring. So 6.5 is mostly because I would have planned better in terms of the final code, and I would have researched better prior to beginning the final web page, especially for image placements.
Mm-hmm.
That way my code wouldn't be so discombobulated. I like this word.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That word gets vastly underused.
Exactly.
You should have used it on the
Discombobulate.
website.
Damn.
The yes girls get discombobulated.
I know, right? We discombobulate our challenges.
But your website looked pretty cool. I mean, the blurred background, like kudos on doing that, because it's not like these drag and drop things where you just, use a slider and say slide to the blurry side or slide to the clear side or just click blur image or an effect. Coding is so different to that, and I had no idea.
Exactly. And funny enough, even when I'm using the block, the drag and drop web creators like Wix.com, which I use for my website, even those I take like hours.
Mm-hmm.
So with this one, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It took even longer because now I was at the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to
So
create
that's me.
everything from scratch.
How about you?
Okay. So let me start by saying that these learning challenges, where things get a bit technical, are my toughest. I'm not a very technical person, and whenever I'm pressed to talk about my weaknesses, then a lack of attention to detail and a tendency to rush and multitask spring to mind immediately. Yeah, I mean, I get things done quickly. It allows me to get a lot done in my life, but it also means that sometimes I don't botch things exactly, but I don't get bogged down with the details so much, which don't seem to be the ideal characteristics of a coder or a developer. So after talking to Joseph, when we were first starting this challenge, I decided that my best chance was just to do as he had advised, which is to work through the tutorials on this very well-known and respected website, which I found out about, called w3schools.com. So I would work through it systematically, practice all the things that it taught me, as I went along in the first 2 weeks. And then in week 3, I would focus on building my own website. Honestly, the first 2 weeks, I actually got really into it, surprisingly. Most evenings and at the weekend, I'd work through a few of the modules, learning a new skill or 2 or 3 each day. For example, a skill might be learning to put borders or background colors on my text, or how to insert links or a clickable and draggable image. And when I tried out all of these skills as I was going through them, it worked pretty well. I had my little coding window open with a black screen. So that's where you insert your code. It's just an app that I downloaded. And all the different elements of code would come up in cool, bright colors. It looks aesthetically pleasing and exciting. And then when I clicked to open that code on a web page on the actual interweb, then what I had created would come up on the internet. Well, sort of.
Magic.
Exactly. And I got such a thrill from this. I'd add a line of code and the whole screen would change color, or an image would come up on the screen, or even a video. And these felt like major milestones as I was doing these things for the first time ever. So take a listen to me just loving life. It's day 4 officially of me learning to code, and I didn't expect this. I'm actually really enjoying it. I mean, it goes against everything that I thought I would think of it. But, the structure and the way that it's purely logical, it's kind of like working out Excel. Like, I don't enjoy Excel, but actually, once I achieve something, I do feel a great sense of, achievement. Like, I've produced something, I've made something happen. And that's pretty cool. Like, I can just type some random letters that do make sense, but they look random and they look kind of pretty with funny colors. And then I open a web page and I've created something. So yeah, I'm enjoying this, guys. Okay, let me get back to it. I'm learning how to make borders around tables. Ooh. You have to understand, I never thought I would code ever in my whole life. I just resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't cut out for it. I can use Excel pretty well. I can add content to a WordPress website or a Squarespace website, which are those drag and drop website builders we mentioned earlier on in the episode. But really creating something from scratch from a blank page just really tapped into my love for creating and making something happen, which at the moment is a little bit of an obsession of mine. Although it was quite a lonely activity, I've got to admit. I would get really sucked in, but then realize that I've not spoken to anyone for hours. And it got even more real when I started creating my own website. I could easily spend 2 hours just trying to get an image of a kumu to stay on the left of the page. And
Where did you get my photo from?
I have many photos of you doing many different things.
This is a problem. I have too many photos online.
Well, this was one of your Yes Girls photos, but I stared at it for so long as I'd change one letter of code and expect it to stay on the left, and it would jut out or it would disappear completely. And I spent 2 hours literally just getting it to stay on the left of the page.
So my face like
too well.
My God.
I associate it now with these feelings of anger and frustration.
Oh my God.
So when it came to actually creating something that wasn't just a practice exercise or following instructions in the W3 Schools tutorial, things started to get real. First, I tried cheating, of course, or what would you call it, shortcutting, and downloading some cool HTML templates. So that's literally a whole web page where you just download the HTML for that web page and plug it into your coding app.
That's like super cheating.
Yeah, but I would try to change one little thing, to make it mine, and the whole thing would disappear. Literally, there's one thing I changed and the screen went blank. Or it would suddenly not be aligned. And all of the visuals, the icons, the images, they were too complicated to just change one aspect at a time. And I also clearly didn't speak HTML well enough to be able to converse with these advanced phrases, so to speak. So I was just lost. I decided that even if it meant my website would be incredibly simple and basic, I was better off just doing my best to start from a blank slate and build it out from there. So here's me an hour or so into my 3rd week when I had started to build the Yes Girls website. This is really tough. I was really enjoying it. And then suddenly I had to do it myself and use my imagination. Guys, I have no imagination. I suck. Can I do this? Can I really do this? I can't emphasize enough how tough I found it. I think, as with Greek, I wasn't diligent enough in practicing before I tried to take the leap and show how fluent I was to try and prove myself. I should have redone some of the tutorials, maybe tried some other sources of tutorials or help, and to reinforce, right?
Or you would have just stolen code from Google.
Well, I tried to steal code, but I couldn't understand the freaking code. But based on my lessons, I could have reinforced it from other sources. As I was going through the different lessons, I'd been thinking, oh, that would be great to add a banner of the Yes Girls page, or that would be a great way to make the page look cool. But then when push came to shove, I just couldn't conjure these same ideas up again out of thin air. It wasn't all doom and gloom, though, and digital desperation. I did manage to build a web page with some structure, and I did get that sense of achievement back. My page had links and images, and although it looked a bit 1990s, those really basic 1990s website, when you stumble upon them now, you're like, have they never heard of Squarespace, or do they not know that you can just pay someone a little bit of money and they can make something that looks,
better,
post-millennial, exactly. But I was proud of it. And I decided that seeing how long it had taken me to make that one simple page, and the 3 weeks were more or less over, there were just a few hours left of those 3 weeks, I should just cut my losses and settle for a single page, not a multi-page website. And so for the remaining few hours of those 3 weeks, I analyzed one of my favorite websites, which is Netflix. So I Netflixed and chilled.
Yeah. Analyze. That's not analyzing.
I watched it intently.
Really?
Yes.
Looking at the menu, how was this menu made and everything?
Well, I looked at what was on the screen and I said, they must have done a very good job coding this, when all my series were playing. So overall, I would give myself a 6.5.
No, I think you deserve more. Your website had a lot of content.
Yeah, but content is easy. That's just typing, you see. The actual technical making it look good using some sophisticated code. I mean, I did try. I was a diligent student, really good, especially in the beginning. But I think I wasn't quite able to match my theoretical creativity with the actual need to code it out in practice.
I think from starting from scratch, I would probably give you an 8.
Oh, thank you. You're basically just feeling bad that you
8.15.
8.15. Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, only 2 decimal points.
Yes.
Well, in any case, I have a new appreciation for even the most basic of websites, and I will never again criticize a 1990s looking website. I'll call it vintage, because it might just be someone like me struggling to get that photo to just blummin' stay put. And it might be your face as well, Akumu, that again, just trying to get to stay put. Next time, careful, don't come too close to me, or I will push your face to the left.
My photo was the difficult one, not yours.
No, yours was more difficult.
Really?
Yours was the first, yeah, and then mine was the second, so I'd figured it out a little bit more by then.
Sorry on behalf of my photo.
But you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah. 8.15.
Now, we want to hear our verdicts from Joseph. Now, Joseph has seen both of our websites. He had a few days to check them out and test them. And so we had a call with him to summarize how we did. And just a quick note, Joseph didn't know whose was whose when he was rating the websites at first, but he does now. So he'll refer to our websites as Claire's and Akumu's, but he did not know them whose was whose. There was no bias there. And of course, you'll find links and images to both websites on our social media at Yes Girls Podcast. So let's hear what Joseph had to say.
Welcome, Joseph, to the Yes Girls. Thanks for coming in, or rather coming into this online call to talk through with us our ratings, share your expertise with us, and let us know how we did on the challenge. Joseph, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before you jump into giving us our ratings and slaughtering us with your feedback?
Yeah, so my name is Joseph Murgor, a software developer working with a software consulting company called Mobile Kenya Limited. So I have like 5 years experience in in writing code and doing development, from making APIs and running backend, SSD and SMS. Yeah, so MobiDev does consulting work for clients who want their issues or problems solved using technology. So that's basically me, in a few words.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. So we basically have the right person in the room with us. We've got the right expert, that is for sure. So why don't you take us through what you thought of each of our websites, now that you know whose is whose? Maybe then give us a rating out of 10, if you can. You can start with either of us. I think we're both equally fine with whatever you have to say about us.
Yeah, so I'll just go through each website, then give a verdict at the end. So the way I categorized, because I didn't know whose website was whose, so I just went, uh, like website one. I think website one was a Kumus, and then yours
Yeah.
was Claire's was two.
Yes.
So yeah, so from I categorize the review in three parts: technicality, design, and content. So I think the fact that you guys came up with a website and use HTML and CSS using UI elements, on 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 both the website shows that you had understanding in HTML structure and also styling with CSS. So that was shown with the website one, and I think that sh- the student showed that understanding in styling it very well. Also, in terms of design, I can see that proper placement of logos and navigation links, the background colors were set, which is a standard. Uh, Contrast, which made that the colors and text were readable. The website also was mobile friendly, which is a good thing for people who use mobile to access. In terms of content, it was well communicated, meaning that when I get to the website, I understood what the website was about on the first screen. A few recommendations on the first website was more pictures would be would be recommended, use of more pictures, and also use of icons in the navigation. So generally that was good for a first time user. I think it shows a general understanding of web design 101. On the second website, I believe this was Claire's. There were, yes, I can say the understanding HTML was really displayed well, or portrayed well, with the structure and coming up with the HTML. Use of styling with CSS, which is also a good thing, made the website look better. Also, use of better understanding like iframes should to include the podcast link, meaning that the podcast was brought to the website, which is a good approach. In terms of design, navigation links were placed at the top of the page, which is standard. Uh, the banner also was placed after the navigation, shows that after I've gone through the navigation, I can see the banner, the contrast between the colors and text made the text readable. Good use of images to add personality to the work. Also, the website was mobile friendly. In terms of content, I think that was better in terms of it has more detailed information. Yeah, you used social media icons, which is shows that and the social media icons were working, meaning that someone can access your social media pages from the website. Yeah, so call to action was also included, which meant that the person will listen to the podcast. So generally, I would say that. So a recommendation for the two was use of icons, which meant that the website will be more presentable. So I recommended that. There was also the 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 importance of just highlighting the call for action to be probably on the first page of the website. So generally, I would give uh, Akumu, I think was 7, and then I give Claire 7.5 in general understanding and implementation of HTML and CSS, and thus coming up with the website.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were much more generous to us than we were to ourselves, Joseph.
Definitely. Thank you.
It's funny how, Joseph, you mentioned Akumu could have used more images. I don't know if you heard earlier in the episode our struggle with images. So, Akumu, how do you take that piece of advice?
It's very necessary, because I know I struggled with images. I only did the blur thing, and the blur thing took like half of my time. So I didn't have enough time to struggle with other images. So I just ditched all of them.
Yeah.
I think, Joseph, just to reiterate, we will be putting both of the websites on our social media so that people can go and see what you've been talking about, the website. So the lovely blurred image that Akumu had, which was very striking. And then we're happy for anyone listening to share their own critiques of our attempts. So thank you, Joseph. So I think I'm curious to know how you got into development, how you got into software design and development, and what your trajectory has been for the past, you mentioned 5 years that you've been a professional coder, so to speak, compared to the 3 weeks that we've been very amateur coders.
Yeah. Maybe I can say that it's really impressive that you did that in 3 weeks. I remember when I was starting, basically I started in campus, just a simple learning HTML and CSS in my campus days. But when I graduated from Maseno University, I joined, uh, let's say, a school at the MLab East Africa, which was under IHub at that time. That is when we got into coding specifically for for mobile development and also a bit of entrepreneurship. So since then, for 5 years, I've been working on big projects, working on the backends and integrations to telcos, integration to M-Pesa, mobile applications and that. So it's been a journey for me. I can say the thing with being a developer is it's always a journey of research and study. To this point, it's been 7 years, and I've been working on MobiDev since I'm one of the co-founders with a group of guys. So it's also a good thing to just group yourself with people who your goals are aligned, so that when you're learning, when you face a problem, you have a group of guys to just help out in terms of debugging, because you can easily get stuck and leave it. So most people really struggle with learning by themselves, and they end up just leaving the whole thing altogether. Yeah.
I think that sounds very, very familiar to both of us, right? Struggling on our own and not helping each other. Maybe we should have joined forces for this one to help each other out and problem solve.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe you guys can work on one of the websites and improve it, and now that that should become your Yes Girls website.
That is an interesting idea. Maybe we should launch a poll to our listeners if they want that.
Yeah, if they want us to create one. Wow.
Yeah, maybe they should first look at what we've created already to see our baseline, our potential. And Joseph, I'm intrigued. So thanks for sharing about your trajectory. I know when we were speaking before the recording, you were telling us about how much specifically mobile development has changed. I remember you saying that when you started, mobile apps were very much limited. The whole mobile mobile development was very limited. How has it changed in the space of the 7 years that you've been working? Has it changed significantly, or you feel it's just small steps?
There's been a big deal of change, mostly because right now there are more available tools. I can say the tools have really improved. Back in the day, you really required a very strong computer to run even something like Android Studio. I can also say that you can develop at this particular moment you can develop a mobile app using technology, different tools, different programming languages or different tools that will end up achieving what you wanted. Back in the day, you the options were very limited. The other thing that I would say is that tutorials and learning and have become more available, and the online courses that can take you through and through, and by 3 months you are a proper mobile developer or just a developer or a web developer. So I would say tools and also the availability of resources have really improved over the years. I've also seen another emerging technology coming up, and that's no code platforms that allow people who don't have technical programming knowledge to just build their website or mobile apps without really by using a user interface without really writing any code. So I would say that it's been there's been a big change since when we were starting and now.
Yeah, so I think we're in a privileged position now, right? That we have all these tools. It's easier for us to learn than even it was for you to learn, I guess. It was you who actually recommended to us the W3 Schools platform that we both used to lesser or greater extent. What would you recommend to anyone out there who wants to start with coding? They want to give it a try. They want to see if they can be better than the Yes Girls in 3 weeks or maybe 3 months. What would you recommend to them to start them on their journey?
Yeah,
As well, specifically like which programs and what tools,
yeah. So it depends. If someone wants to start as a web developer, there's basic languages that they need. So for web development, it's HTML, CSS, and a bit of, if you want to do a bit of backend work, probably Python or PHP. So the first thing that someone needs is to to choose or to choose what he or she wants to study. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a bit of research and probably in what they would really want to start with. Like for example, you find that if you want to be a web designer and eventually web developer, you really need to start with the basics. That's HTML and CSS. So that's where you start, and then choose now a particular tutorial or a particular learning resource to concentrate on, because you find that most people also fall into this problem of having too many tutorials, following too many tutorials, and that might end up into you mixing yourself up. So choosing one, because most of these tutorials are quite the same, and that's why for you guys I recommended the W3 Schools tutorial, so that at least you get the basics. So for someone starting, we choose one tutorial and follow it to the end. From that, now you can now start experimenting with other resources and adding your knowledge to get to a point where you would really need to show to people that you have done any HTML, any programming work. I would recommend paying for a course. I think most of these courses on Udemy or Coursera, it's like $10. Then now follow that tutorial to the end, and now that will now probably launch you into this career, because you would be able to present that to someone who is interested in hiring you, or to someone who is interested in taking up taking you up, presenting them a certificate saying I did this, and this is where I got. So there is a bit of research and a bit of narrowing down on what you want, and now uh, going forward, I would also advise, there are groups that have really come up, especially in Nairobi, that are niche groups. You find that there are groups that for web designers, groups for guys who are really good in PHP programming, guys who are really good in Python. So you get into those groups, and those will also accelerate, because there is a lot of learning and there is a lot of asking of questions, and there are professionals there, and people with experience who can help. Yeah. So that's basically it.
Thanks, Joseph. Well, I hope people out there are inspired. I'm certainly inspired now. I sometimes click on the view code option on my browser to see what the code looks like. I still don't understand most of it, but at least I'm curious about it. It's opened up my curiosity and understanding.
Are you going to exploit further or not, Claire?
Me? Well, like I said, I now have a newfound appreciation for it, and when I get the opportunity to look at it, I think I will. I'm not sure I'll do much more coding right now, simply because I feel like I would need to really invest myself more deeply. I don't think it's something that you can just do in 3 weeks. I think really we would need to do this for longer and learn more skills. But I'm certainly talking more to my friends around me who work in the field or have recently converted to this field. A friend of mine who used to have a very similar career to me is now doing coding, and I spoke to her, and it was just great to hear what she loves about it, the problem-solving aspect. And I think that's really fascinating. It's great to know more. Are you going to do more coding, Akumu?
Yes, I think I have to. I mean, the next 5 years, I definitely have to get into probably Python. Yeah.
Joseph, you have a willing student here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Joseph, for joining us. We really appreciate your very generous ratings, and we appreciate you taking the time to speak to us.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any words for our listeners? Final words to our listeners, Joseph?
All I can say that what you guys are doing is really awesome. I would challenge everyone to take up a challenge. I'm already taking one already, and I think that's the way to go, and that's the way to break boredom in this Nairobi of ours.
Awesome. So you've already taken up a challenge inspired by the Yes Girls.
Yes.
Can you tell us what it is?
Right now, I'm still in the doing some research, but I would really like to learn Spanish. Yes.
Hey,
amazing.
Excelente.
Spanish is very easy though for you if you know Swahili, so it will be quite good to learn.
Yeah, so I'm following a YouTube tutorial, and that should get me somewhere.
If you can code, you can definitely learn Spanish.
Yeah, well, that's because Spanish would be easier for us, but maybe not. Maybe because we're not coders. We've got different skill sets. But Joseph, all the best with that. We're so happy that the Yes Girls has inspired you to say yes to learning something new. And we'll definitely share with you our final Yes Girls website if the Yes Girls listeners think that we should pursue that further.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph.
Thank you.
So that's it from us. Oh no, it's over. Now we want to hear from you. What have you said yes to?
Have you given an A+ to C++?
Have you cracked the code of coding?
Do you want to make your own Yes Girls website?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a Yes Girls website. It should
They
be
could.
there. Oh yeah, they could make for us, right?
Make one that's better than ours,
Clearly.
please.
Tell us about it on our Instagram page at Yes Girls Podcast, one word. Facebook, the same. Twitter, the same. And of course, LinkedIn. We are also on LinkedIn.
Yeah, find us everywhere. And if you want to suggest something that you think the Yes Girls should do, be, or learn for a future episode, send us your ideas. If you want to share your expertise, your business, or just your passion with us through one of our episodes, get in touch with us. Once again, that's at Yes Girls Podcast.
We also share behind the scenes photos, videos, and websites. Wait until you see them. They're awesome. So we share our experience, all that with our experiences of doing, being, and learning, so that you can see a bit of what we put ourselves through in the name of doing all of that for your entertainment.
And education. Thanks, Space U- to Dana Seda, a lovely producer at Semabox by Baraza Media Lab. Insert music here, Ped O'Brien, who composed our theme music. Powered by Joseph Murgor, today's genuinely expert on coding from MobiDev. Check them out at mobidev.com. We love you, our listeners, supporters, friends, and family. We couldn't do it without you.
So until next time, where we'll be going a bit further into the present and making things a bit more like the Gen Zers do it. We'll be doing something very, very, very cool.
That we've obviously not done before because we are already too old and uncool according to the youngsters of today.
Yeah, we are the oldest millennials alive. So I can't believe we're already classified as old. Imagine that.
Yeah, time flies. Well, we're over. Has been just like this episode. That's it for now from
The Yes Girls! Oh yeah.